Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Miss Nidhi Pant, who is the co-founder of S4S Technologies, a near farm gate food processing platform. Nidhi is the winner of Women Transforming India Awards by Niti Aayog in collaboration with the United Nations. She was listed in Forbes 30 under 30 Asia. Nidhi was also named Emerging Innovator of the Year at Economic Times Women Leadership Awards. So, hi Nidhi, welcome to ELI.
Thank you, Priyan. Uh, Very happy to be here.
Nidhi, I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Hi, my name is Nidhi Pant. I'm the co-founder of S4S Technologies. As Priya Ranjan mentioned, I co-founded this when I was in college, just graduating. And S4S is a decentralized food processing platform that converts farm losses to value-added products, helping farmers earn assured additional income.
Hmm. So, Nidhi, tell us in detail what is the S for S, or you call it Science for Society as well. What are the services it offers to, and what are the typical customers, or what you say, the target audience we cater to?
Yeah, sure. S4S is a decentralized farm gate. So we equip, we transform landless women farmers who are dependent on rain-fed agriculture. We transform them to be agri-entrepreneurs. We by providing them with the right combination of technology, market linkage, and access to finance. So we deploy our machines, which is patented by S4S. These are our proprietary machines creating small farm systems at the farm. The farmers process the produce. We buy back the produce, giving them additional income uh, for processing. And then we take it to a central unit where we do all kind of quality checks, grading, sorting, metal detection, and then we supply to the F&B industry, which is the food and beverage industry. In there we supply to two type of customers. One include the major FMCG players like Marico, Capital Foods, and also to smaller hotel, restaurant, catering industry, cloud kitchens, flight kitchens. These include your Sodexo, Indian Railways, um, ID Bombay Canteen, and other box set, Fasos, these other customers.
Hmm. Now, tell us, when did you think of becoming an entrepreneur? When did you start this venture?
Yes, I never thought that okay, I just want to be an entrepreneur, like particularly only an entrepreneur. But yes, I evaluated that my best value addition to my skills and my talent, and to get out what I actually want. The best route is entrepreneurship. I started 5 years back when I was in college, doing like multiple things at that time, a bit directionless. That okay, you can make like a company, or what, or like it's a scalable company, you need to earn revenue, but more of like an innovation lab. And what are as you had rightly mentioned, science, S4S stands for Science for Society. So science and society being very integral part of what we do.
Hmm.
And yes, that's where after college I decided that I don't want to take up a job and I want to try and experiment this. I want to become an entrepreneur. So I graduated in 2015, and since then I have been trying my hand on entrepreneurship.
Okay. Uh, to start a venture, it is not just one person is not enough. You would need a team, or at least you would need a co-founder. So how did you find your co-founder, and how did you deploy the vision you had into the co-founder's head?
Sure. It was a very serendipitous moment for me. Back in college, everyone wants to go upwards. People want to actually go abroad. People want to get master's degree, or like just get go to MBA. But I was very lucky enough to find my co-founders in my institute, in my college, and they were working in the same lab. I joined that lab because that it works with the same values and mission that I want to also work in. So it was very aligned that way for us. But yes, we did post that. We really did like the brainstorming together. What is the business model? How is it actually going to look like?
Hmm.
Where the markets are moving? What we can do? What we cannot do?
Hmm.
So I was very lucky to find my co-founders in the same institute who were my college seniors,
Hmm.
and we all got together to start S4S.
Hmm. Tell us more about your college life. I'd like to know how does someone who is a future entrepreneur is like in the college days.
Sure. In college days, I think one thing that actually I did a bit more mindfully was that I experimented a lot in different industries. I tried and also I tried to separate it between skills and also industries. So I did try chemical industry where I was this is my graduate degree. So I tried my hands on R&D production,
Hmm.
did a lot of internships. I was really very curious. So at the same time, I also did a small stint at Zomato.
Hmm.
I did a small stint at financial institute, doing financial modeling, and also seeing if that's a path for me.
Hmm.
I had two back to back foreign internships in Japan and Germany, so that actually helped me understand what I don't want to do.
Hmm.
So I think I was very just very curious, and I tried a lot during college days. I think I was not laid back. Yes, academics was not my best thing to do. So I actually tried, like, I used to volunteer a lot. I volunteered for various NGOs. I did village adoptions. I tried my hand on political activism.
Hmm.
So during my college, since my college days, I think I was really very energetic. So I tried to get a lot of other skills and also try like different industries and see where I have like the best value add.
Hmm. So what I gather from here and what I am also seeing from the industry, a lot of founders and co-founders, they are not into academics in college days. Rather, they are more into activities and extracurriculars.
Yes, but my other co-founders were very much in academics, so they were really good students, unlike me. So I think it's a balance of both.
Hmm.
I would not say that completely no, like ignoring academics, we did everything. But
Hmm.
yes, it's not something is your calling, or is not something that's going to take you like ahead. So you kind of just park it and just see what are the other skills you want to develop, whether it's digital marketing, whether it's leadership, whether it's sales. So I was really good at sales. That's how I actually uh, saw that that is like a great skill to have.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Nidhi, tell me, how was your first day of entrepreneurship like?
It was really, I was really nervous. I think the first day was like butterflies in the stomach. So it was really uncertain. You really have to answer your parents whether your decision has been right, whether. So
Hmm.
I think it was a mix. I was excited as well, but really having that raw enthusiasm that like sab kuch kal hi ho jaye. So I really thought like it's going to be like fast, and it's going to all happen like quickly.
Hmm.
I was very impatient. I was nervous as well,
Hmm.
but as it all panned out well.
Hmm. If if someday they would make a movie out of your life, then how would the opening sequence be like?
if they actually make a movie out of my life, the best thing to describe is like this running shot where I'm just running, like, so it's like a continuous grind on treadmill, because I think that's been the most defining thing for me, that perseverance and grit are the most important thing, and as an entrepreneur. And I think the half of the people probably fail or just like drop out is just because they can't sustain this very uncertain lifestyle. And so I think my clip would be like at it, like always uh, running.
Hmm. Very interesting. Now, my question is around the business you are into. I think you work with a lot of SMEs, if I am not wrong.
Yes.
So, SMEs and startups are not very different in nature. I think the team size, the investment, many things are similar. What is that particular thing that separates an SME from a startup? What is the difference?
Difference is the risk taking ability. Startup is a bit more risk taking, that all in. SME is a bit more sustainable.
Hmm.
Startups do burn money, get funding, go in losses sometimes. It does not focus on profitability and unit economics at times. But I think that way SMEs are a bit more foundational. It's more long term. Startups also have faster growth rates. Fast Startups are trying to get a market share, or they're trying to like really grow their services really fast, whereas SMEs are a bit more sustainably growing, also looking at profitability and net profit. And it's a bit more individual driven. Startups have taken funding and have investors, so it's a bit of both the calls of what returns
Hmm.
you get.
Right. Uh, uh, then also you have worked in the agriculture sector. What do you think are areas that are very open, or there is a clear gap in the market and not many entrepreneurs are thinking about entering this space? I think many of the Indian entrepreneurs, if there is one thing they want to go get into, it's internet. They all want to build a mobile app, or build a SaaS product, but very less number of entrepreneurs are getting into agriculture. Can you tell us what are the major areas which can be taken over or can be experimented upon?
Sure, no, you very rightly pointed out that yes, everyone's just trying to do things which are cool, but without realizing that most of these businesses are tech enabled and are not technology business, as like very hardcore technology like say, Apple, Microsoft, IBM, or Cisco, that actually drove that value. But creating an app or creating a website is definitely not a tech business to say. But the good thing that they can do is to identify how in agriculture is definitely untapped, it's definitely new. Though I would not say there are like more than 450 startups in agriculture, but just to say that okay, agriculture that way up after COVID has got a lot of traction, and it's
Mm,
because it's an essential services. People have started coming into agriculture. It's definitely more unorganized, untapped. So the areas of growth, or like trends, or what you can actually opportunities you can tap into, is first on the seed side, like how you actually help farmers harvest better, like increase their productivity, and how you help them get more out of the same land. The second is how you help them transport their produce, whichever whatever they have caught as an yield, to the market, and for them to earn the right price for their produce. A lot of like they still face challenges of distant markets, lack of infrastructure for storage, and other things like that. And the third part is giving farmers the right financial access. So they are all new. Most like a lot of them are new to credit. Giving them the only thing that they actually have an asset is the land. So giving them the loans, helping them get their managing their cash better. That is the third area which the most of the startups can tap. And the fourth is how you do value addition, which you integrate a bit more with food. So say if you're doing something like an Amul model, or more where you take things and do fundamental research on agriculture and food and then take it to the market. So more value addition, you make final end product for the consumer.
Hmm. So, Nidhi, not very long ago, I met an entrepreneur who is working on a blockchain into agriculture, right? So that
Okay.
is when I thought, wow, what blockchain in agriculture? Uh, can you tell us what are the trends or thriving trends that are there in agriculture? Like many startups or many ventures are building on up in that particular segment.
Sure. No, definitely, these are definitely solutions that are coming up, but we really need to see if this is a solution that is needed, and it can be monetized. So I'm not saying that blockchain is not needed or cannot be monetized. Yes, it can, but is it an immediate thing that can be monetized? Yes, we'll have to think about it. But other trends that people can do is, first is the digitization. So digitizing the entire supply chain just to remove the middlemen, just to get more transparency, is something that's actually a new trend. Second is the B2C part, which is taking the produce directly to the consumer, like creating something like a Ninja Cart has been doing, which has gained like a lot of traction in recent times, because this also helps farmers earn better.
Hmm.
So that's another part. The third area is where you're using very high tech, actual physical hardware devices to see if your water in the soil is optimum. Remote sensing is also a good trend that has been established, but like getting a bit more deeper, giving advisory to the farmers. Everything is happening on the is just happening on the app, so farmer knows that, okay, pest infestation, what is the problem. So at every stage you are like a guiding force for them.
Hmm.
So these are some, and the fourth part is the bioinformatics, like how you are actually doing fundamental research on crops to change their leaf pattern, to get more out of them, of the soil. You also see if more fundamental research on the seed part, research on how you can integrate biology in farming and getting the right output. So things like aquaculture have also been like a recent trend that has been coming. So a lot of uh, uh, areas which can be tapped into.
Right. Nidhi, I'll get back to the regular course of questions. Would like to know what is your vision with S4S?
Our vision with S4S is that having every farmer the right access to the technology, for which is post harvest technology, where they don't waste the produce, whatever they make. So right now, currently, they face a lot of wastage in the supply chain, food and in the supply chain, and also at the customer end, there is uh, inconsistent quality, there is price fluctuation. So just mapping this need is very important,
Hmm.
that what farmer can grow and what the customer needs. So our vision is definitely to reach out to 1 million farmers in the course of next 3 years, and also see how we can value add and help them get like an assured additional income, taking them out of poverty, and also at the customer end giving them the right food solutions.
Hmm. Right. Now let's discuss about the challenges you faced along the way. Which were the hurdles you faced while building this venture?
The hardest challenge is to also to align, like all of us are engineers, we all are like really think that, okay, we know like we are smart, we know, but we are innovators, so a lot of times we just don't keep customer at the center of it. So the most challenging part was to how to align ourselves very of what we can do and what we like enjoy doing,
Hmm.
and map it to what helps you make money or what helps you become financially sustainable. So mapping your passion to what also gives you financially better outcomes is what was the most challenging part. So that actually took some time.
Okay. Uh, Anything related to COVID? How was COVID for your business?
COVID was definitely challenging for every business, but thankfully, agriculture is an essential sector. Due to uncertainty, it's difficult to actually map. The product market fit is definitely is something that got realigned. So it took us
Mm.
some time to get back to operations. The first 2 months were really hard. We just didn't know what was going on, and but yeah, now I think we all are learning to live with it. So just being a bit more resilient and getting the team in place, the support from the team is really important. So yeah, so we're trying to get out of it.
Right. Uh, how do you compare entrepreneurship with a 9 to 5 job? I think you have not been into a 9 to 5 job, but if you have any idea, you can share.
I think it will be bad for me to compare. I think it's really an individual choice, because I think me entrepreneurship is like 24/7. It's you never sleep.
Mm.
It's not about the hours you put in, but it's like your mind. It does not allow you to. I think it's a mindset difference that it does not allow you to think about anything else. Like I don't want to go home. I don't know what. Like even if I go home, I will be always be thinking like, what can I do for my venture? What is the next big thing? What needs to be improved, how do we get more people, how do we hire better. So I, as entrepreneurs, you're always like, I think, just thinking, because it's your own baby, so you're always like, your mind never stops. 9 to 5, I think, is a very structured, very organized. People who like balance in their lives should definitely, I think entrepreneurs can also find balance, but I don't think your mind ever stops. And But yes, it's starting to get better. After in initial years, it's definitely with a lot more of energy and enthusiasm. Like later years, you actually start thinking that okay, you can practice like mindfulness, and otherwise you just feel guilty. Okay, you just wasted like 2 hours watching Netflix. So the guilt factor is also a lot more in entrepreneurship.
Hmm. How do you recommend our audience to start their entrepreneur journey? Let me tell you a bit about our audience. They're young people or students who have dreams to build something of their own. How do you suggest they get started?
I think the best thing to get, sorry, first, hi to your audience, and great that you guys are here and are thinking of building something of your own. So congratulations for actually taking or and deciding that as a step. Uh, so I would suggest that right now there's enough in the ecosystem. So if you just want to become a tech entrepreneur, you want to become an agri entrepreneur, you want to be any kind of entrepreneur, you have enough support and guidance from different networks that exist in every state, and also virtually. So there are enough accelerators and incubators. There are universities who have been doing centrally. There are different like groups that have been formed. So say for agriculture, there are groups at CIE, FICCI. Everyone's so invested in entrepreneurship as a journey. You find investors at different forums. So the best way to just start is to define like what is just to really see what the problem is and whether your solution is needed or not. So go a bit more of a design thinking approach, and validate faster and learn from the customer. So rather than focusing on product development, focus on customer development also.
Hmm.
Who's paying, what's pricing, what's the market segment, and also get help from the ecosystem for as you are in this journey. So don't think you're alone. You can always reach out to your fellow entrepreneurs. You can reach out to institutes. You can reach out to support systems like what ELI is doing. So uh, it's the idea is just to be a bit more active and to start like reaching out. Like max, the worst that can happen is people just say no, or like they don't reply, right? Like you're not going to lose out on anything. So definitely ask for things whenever you're feeling challenged.
Hmm. Nidhi, can you name some of the incubators our audience can reach out to with an idea?
Yes. So AIC, which is Atal Incubation Center, has many incubators. They have state-wise, they have centrally in Delhi. I was part of AIC Banasthali, which is especially for women. But if you see, that's one like really good. For others are Will Grow, Upaya. These are for more social ventures that you can reach out. Apart from this, I was part of a Stanford Seed program. So this is a bit more later stage, but for early stage entrepreneurs, CIIE, which is IIM and the BAD incubator, is also really good. There is Startup Oasis that you can be actually a part of. So if you just like Google top 10 like incubators and accelerators in India, for your specific to your industry, you can find some, and there are different programs that happen in this incubator, so you please do access that.
Hmm. So, one last question, Nidhi. We are almost up with the time. One last question. What is your final message to potential entrepreneurs of this country?
Potential entrepreneurs in the country is that be really really focused on the customer. Never think that your solution is greater than what the customer's needs are. So that's first, and the second is uh, always look at it as a journey. It's like a treadmill. You always have to keep going, even if things are hard, even if you're not getting any credit, even if you're not making to like your story or like media, or you're not getting that recognition,
Hmm.
just keep going, because at the end of it, you are, for some people it takes 3 years, some people it takes 5 years. You just cannot compare that journey.
Hmm.
You cannot like say that okay, I like this happened for this person, so it's going to translate the same for you. So be a very very mindful of that, that okay, everyone's journey is very unique, and it's going to take your own sweet time as it's meant to be. So please do not give up, and please keep going, and that would be my message.
Lovely message, Nidhi. And on that note, I'd close this session, and I'd like to tell you that it was a pleasure to host you at ELI. I think our audience would have.
uh, Thank you so much, Priya Ranjan. Yes, just wanted to thank you, and you're doing a great work. So thank you and all the best.
Viewers, you can follow Nidhi on LinkedIn by searching for Nidhi Pant. And do let me know whom do you want to have here at ELI for next episodes. Uh, we will be back before you know it. Stay tuned to Entrepreneur Launch of India.